All right, we are live. Welcome to the Dad Pod with Brad Alexander. Hey, folks, it has been a while. As y'all know, this is my passion, and I love interviewing people around the state, around America, but I really like interviewing people from our community. So, what is the Dad Pod? The Dad Pod is a live cast, so it's not a podcast, but I call it a Dad Pod. Just why not? It's a live cast to interview people to get to know them. Our today's guest, Dena Jansen, and us and myself both grew up in a small town, and I feel like my opinion is that people didn't get to know people very well. They went to the local coffee shop, and this was said and that was said. Well, today we're not going to get any coffee shop drama or gossip about Dena Jansen. We're going to get to know Dena Jansen. So I'm Brad Alexander with the Alexander Home Team, your local realtor. Um, and today we have in studio Dena Jansen. I've got down mom, wife, author of 2 books, show pig mom. We'll have to get into that, and founder, and many, much more, I'm sure, and founder and voice of Dena Speaks. So, Dena, who is Dena Jansen?
Awesome, Brad. First, thanks for having me and letting me come on and share a little bit about who I am. I think we should both be honest. Me and you live for an hour could be super, or however long it will be, is always going to lend itself to some interesting commentary because we both, I think, love words a lot. So glad to be here. The question is, who is Dena Jansen? I go with the easy ones off the bat. Like you said, I'm a mom of 2. I've got a high school junior and a college freshman that we grew and, I was going to say grew and raised them, but that's the truth. They were both born and raised here in the Buda Kyle area. I am a 2-time author. I've got my 2 book babies behind me. My latest being Soul Farmer, which came out early last year. And married to my high school sweetheart, to JP Jansen. We're both Hayes High School graduates, graduated in 97, which sounds like so long ago now. We're both Texas Tech graduates, and he farms and has known he was going to farm since he was about 8 years old. So I am a farm wife. I give that is a label that is worth the effort and the time. So supporting him and his farm efforts and his passion for the work he does. We have 2 crazy dogs, a cat. Brad and I were just talking before we jumped on. I've got 1 dog and a full cast. So I'm also, I would like to call myself a vet tech on the side. And I'm born and raised here. We've been in Texas our whole life. I grew up in Manchac. I was right on that cusp of Travis, Hayes County. So I ended up at Hayes. My kids went to Dahlstrom, where I went to school, which is very bizarre to have your kids go through middle school where you have very vivid memories. And then we were at high school together. And of course, then we crossed paths, Brad. So I keep myself really busy with different things. When I think about who Dena is as a professional, I feel like that was kind of who I am as a person. But as a professional, I am a CPA, still licensed here in the state of Texas. I was in public accounting for 15 years, rose all the way up, climbed the ladder up to partner, was a partner at a firm in Austin, and managed the nonprofit practice. So I just have a huge heart still for nonprofits and the work that they do. And so I've then served on many boards, presented to countless boards, and have audited plenty of organizations. But about 8 years ago, just decided that I just didn't feel the energy and passion for that profession anymore, and decided to have a change and move over, put out 2 books in the world since then, had a podcast, You Just Don't Know It Yet, for a bit, and also then very proud of having created a women's event for the community that was called RON, which stood for Ready or Not. We did that since 2019. So in total did Ron about 5 years, and we did officially let Ron retire as well. But over the years served probably close to 800 women who came in every year, just 200 at a time, to enjoy an afternoon of growth, connection, and joy. So I'm a person who believes in being really curious and following your gut and doing what's great. And I hope I'm doing that for my kids. And yeah, how's that about who Dena is?
We're gonna get
Did I miss
deeper into it.
anything?
We're gonna get deeper into it. But I will
At the
say
start.
I have told Dena over the years that I am jealous, and I know we're not supposed to be jealous people, but like Dena said, she loves to talk. I love to talk. So having a business, a passion that says Dena speaks, I've told her that I've told her in the past that don't be surprised if I don't copy you one day. I would love to have I love public speaking. And Dena, you may not know this, but I love public speaking because I went to college on the way people would understand it wasn't exactly, but a National Disabilities Act. I had a speech impairment my entire life.
Oh, okay.
And so me speaking in front of people, me doing this today is like me giving the middle finger to the devil who gave me this speech impairment. So
right. I mean, to me, some people are terrified by speaking, and I get it. I naturally am not. Now that's not, I mean, this weekend I had an engagement, and I still get nerves. Doesn't mean you still don't get nerves. But to me, the nerves just mean that I really care and that I want to have, an impact with the people I'm spending time with. But yeah, some of us are just born with that desire to put out a lot of the things that we've got in here out into the world. So, and then I do think though, and I don't know about Stephanie, your wife, but I know that I'm married to a man of much fewer words, which is a good pairing. Because imagine if me and JP both wanted to talk as much, then I don't know how that would go. But yeah.
Stephanie hates the camera.
Yeah.
I will be the one to tell you that Stephanie and I have done on social media, we've done these things, marriage debates, which really they're marriage arguments.
Sure.
And when we do them on camera, those are some of the most, like one time we argued about, or we debated the definition of ish. Like, so I grew up in the sports world and coaching and all that, to where if you're 5 minutes early, you're 10 minutes late.
Sure.
Stephanie grew up in this very relaxed, liberal arts world, to where just let freedom ring, right?
Sure.
And so she lives by the world of ish. And so 5 minutes, so if we're supposed to be there at one ish, is there? So that was one of our biggest viral videos, was dating. But it's hard for me to get her on the camera. But I've often told her that we needed to do a husband wife, just because we have so much in common.
Yeah.
But we have so much indifferent too. So.
Oh, absolutely. I feel like, I mean, JP and I say that too, because I play this game kind of when I normally have an engagement or a speaking engagement, and I do kind of 2 truths and a lie, and I'll tell people just to let them get to know me. And one of the things I say is that, we're in corn season right now, so we've got corn in the ground. But a few months ago, I was like, well, I've got to leave here because I got to go hop on the tractor and really, help plant that corn. And that was for sure the lie, because the heavy equipment scares me. I was given the opportunity to drive the tractor, and I was awful. And so thank goodness we've decided that we really do have similar passions for growth, but he grows plants and I grow people. So that is where we can draw that line, and I can support him and help him grow his own business and operations, but I don't need to be on a tractor.
And then another jealous thing with Dena is I want to write a book. I want to tell the story of, possibly the small town kid, right? Where, and I think not the small town deal, but so many people, and I used to teach this when I was a high school teacher, of break the cycle. Yeah. When you look at small town people, especially in our age group, because nowadays our kids have YouTube and blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
my daughter barrel races, and she became a barrel racer because she found a barrel racer on YouTube. So
Wow.
we
Yeah.
didn't have, because we weren't part of that world.
Yeah.
Um, so our generation didn't have YouTube to see what else was out there. So, my dad was a construction worker and my mom was a teacher. So those were like the only two options I had. And it
Right.
took me till later. So I was a high school coach for 15 years and realized, and kind of like you, um, I tell people I was good at it. It was something that came
Yeah.
easy to me, but I lost that passion. And so the world of real estate has allowed me the flexibility and it's allowed me to be what I think is a good dad,
Hmm.
um, and be a part of my kids' lives and go from here to there
Yeah.
and all of that. And then real estate is one thing I love about real estate, and you would probably understand this with the CP and just when you get to meet different people of different walks of life.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Just hearing hearing different people's stories, and from 80 years old to 25 years old. That's probably my passion in real estate
Yeah.
is I'm a question asker. I ask a lot of
Yeah.
questions. And so I get to know a lot of people. So one question I do have for you, I got two questions on the present. We kind of covered the past.
Yeah.
She's a graduate of Hayes Consolidated High School. And she's married to. And one thing we didn't say about your husband's a farmer, but not only is your husband a farmer, but your husband's a farmer, and the majority of his farming is like 180 miles away. Is that a good?
Now it is. Yeah. So 2 hours away, however that map, how fast ever how fast you drive.
That's 2 hours away with JP driving.
Sure.
Yeah.
And if I-35 cooperates. So yeah, he was fourth generation farming. So when we were in college in Lubbock, we knew we'd come home because he wanted to join his family farming operations. Both grandparents his dad was farming alongside his other profession. And so we came home, and Jansen Family Farms was predominantly, it was here in Hays County with smatterings of land and leases all the way from San Marcos, all the way over to Niederwald, if you will. It was smatterings of land all over. And about 10 years ago, he came to me and was like, hey, somebody's approached me. There's some land in Mart, Texas, which is outside of Waco. And, maybe we could consider it. And he thought I'd say no, which was fine. We had two young kids at the time. And I remember saying, well, I think you have to consider it because the writing on the wall is that Hays County isn't going to make it. It's already not the rural that we knew. And the land that they were leasing was being developed. And there was no anger there. It was just reality. And so they started farming operations up in Mart, Texas. And now actually this last cotton season, this past summer, was our last harvest here in Hays County. So he is only farming up in Mart. So he goes back and forth. We have a barn dominium there. So a little apartment that he hangs out and does his work there, but then home is still home. It's where we want to finish out our, raising our kiddos. And we still got the one who doesn't graduate till next year. So yeah, he's all over the place. He's here and there, but Marta is definitely still even more rural than probably we remember, right? There was a Dairy Queen, but it's closed. So, it's little, but you're right there by Waco. And it gives him, I think it will afford him what I told him, the opportunity to farm our lifetime before it probably then will develop out. But yeah, he's back and forth. And Hays County was good to us for a lot of years. I don't think, if you can see it, but way back in the back up there, we had little cotton bales made out of the last cotton that we harvested here in Hays County, just as, something to remind us of, it was a big change. And that's where the farm he grew up on. It's where his grandfather was. And it was a big change, but for someone who knows that's what they want to do, we gotta find the land, and that he can do. So.
Yeah. So my first question about the present, and then we'll go to the future. What is Dena Jansen? I got two questions for the present, and then so what is Dena Jansen work? Since guys, she is going, and what are you working on now? Are you writing another book? Are you focusing on coaching, growing other people? What is your focus today?
Yeah, that's a great question. If you want to be, here's the thing that I have a hard time not being. I have a hard time not being honest, Brad. And I'll say the thing that I am doing right in this moment is I'm stuck in that conundrum of, or do I look at you or do I look at the camera lens, and it's driving me nuts and it's making me laugh. So if anyone's watching my eyes and going, what is she staring at? Well, my camera's a little higher than Brad's face, and I am literally stuck in the dilemma. And I know there's proper training. I'm supposed to look at there, but I really want to look at your face.
I was doing most of my stuff is live, but I was doing a taped thing yesterday on my phone, here, and I've got a light over here, and it was driving me nuts.
Yeah.
Because I did not know I was doing a video to put on TikTok and blah 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 and everywhere,
all the places,
about property taxes, right?
Sure.
And I just had to stop because it was driving me nuts because I could see my eyes, and I was trying to look at the phone, but I needed to look at the camera. It just drove me nuts, so I stopped. And
so I just want your viewers to know that my eyes are on their own exploration today. So sometimes they're over here, but really that's Brad, or sometimes they're up here and that's my camera.
Yeah.
So to answer your question of where I am now, I also, like I said, I operate off of 3 core values that I literally say KOR, core values, and they are to be kind, open, and real. And for us, where we are in our life right now, I really would say that I am in my available era. If we were to bring Taylor Swift into the mix, I am not actively chasing anything right now, Brad. Like, I'm not. I am, after Soul Farmer came out, which again, she's beautiful and she's my latest baby. When she came out last February, when you launch something like that into the world, and that's all you've been putting your energy and effort into, and then you're putting books in hands, and you're hoping, I will say, if you do one day write a book, which you totally can and you should, it is a very interesting experience because you have been immersed in it for years, and then you put it out into the world and you don't get a ton of feedback. You know, you might hear people are excited off the bat and they're giving it to people, but it's a very interesting thing where then when you come down from that, it's a little bit, it was like, I had like a little mini of a dip of a depression. Like, what is, because you just don't have all that energy invested in something. So I was like, oh, I'm just going to move in. I'm just going to go to book 3. I'm going to do this or that. And I really just felt that wasn't the thing to do at the time. And then at the same time, we decided to let the podcast have an end, and we decided to let Ron end. And so for a while, I was like, I'm just really good at quitting things right now. But I think that what it's doing is it's opening me up for the opportunity of what is next, which is really bringing Soul Farmer to life with people. And so I have been really excited to have some really great keynote opportunities, some speaking opportunities with women's conferences, with another board. It was an all-female board this last week, really helping a new board kick off their year, and bringing Soul Farmer and the ideas of what it means to grow through change, which is what the book is about. How can I bring that to life for women and speak? And again, in smaller groups. So that's what I'm doing right now is really being selective about the teams and people that I spend time with. They've got to be people who want to grow. They've got to be people who are curious and, want to be engaged with me in the content. And then we see how we're going to build that out. So I think for me right now, it is being very available for my family. It's being very available to, contributing in different ways. I mean, I will be the one protesting our property taxes. Thank you very much. And then really giving myself the time to let a slow burn build and continue to build with Soul Farmer. So that's where I'm at right now.
Well, we just got a hello, y'all, from Lauren Lyons. So I guess.
Oh,
hey. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of, I really like, I'm still in your core, by the way.
It's fantastic, but those are my core values. You might operate off of different ones, but they are fantastic.
No, kind, open, and real. That is. And so I learned from the coaching world, you never go to a 4th. So everything is in 3s. Yeah. So in the coaching world, everything, if there's a 4th, then it gets complicated.
It does. Yeah, for sure.
And then we also, in the coaching world, I learned is if it goes to a 2nd page, then it's too long. So keep everything in 1 pagers.
Sure.
And so but yeah, I really like that that's because that's kind of, Stephanie and I's real estate business is,
Yeah,
kind, which we replace kind with integrity.
sure. Yeah,
Because I tell people there's just so much dirty
yeah,
gruesomeness in the world of real estate, and there's so much money involved, and people
yeah,
and how much money people are going to make and all that. And then the people that are doing it, I tell people, to become a realtor, you got to have 6 online classes, and that's it. So be
yeah,
careful who you trust. Um,
sure, sure.
but I really like the
Yeah,
open and the real, because we lose business every
yeah,
year just because, if you want 600,000 for your house and I think we can only
right,
sell it for 400,000, I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear.
right.
I'm going to tell you what I really think. And
Yeah, and I think that that's all people. It's not hard to hear. To me, the thing about bringing kind, open, and real to life for me is it's just I can't do it any other way. Like it would be too much for me, and I would feel out of integrity, like out of alignment. Integrity, right? It's like when everything is in, like your truths are lined up.
mm,
And if I'm out there, your question a moment ago of what's Dina doing right now? Like if I was just trying to make sure people thought I was just some crazy successful professional, then I'm going to just start listing all these things that I'm doing rather than saying, right now I'm not that busy, which is not the norm for people because success oftentimes looks like busyness. That's what people equate it to. Oh, well, you're so busy, you must be so successful. But right now, I feel like with not having a full schedule, I'm open to what is coming next. And when the timing is right for us and our family, then I will be ready. Like I think I've proven that if I want to do something, I'm going to do it. But right now is the time to wait it out. And that's really, it's from my book. I mean, one of the chapters is let time take time. And from farming, because I bring obviously the whole imagery throughout Soul Farmer is just this ability to look and compare it to actual farming. But there's, when land goes fallow, like you have to have, not fallow. I was going back to my pig days. Fallow. So when land is fallow, there just means there's no seed in it. There's no active growth, but that land is doing what it needs to do. It's regenerating. It's getting ready for the next thing. And so, I say in the book, you have to have faith in the fallow. Those times where there doesn't seem to be a lot of visible growth happening, but it's happening. And yeah, so I think for me, if I were to try to tell you anything else, like what good is that going to do anybody? Like it just doesn't. And the biggest piece of feedback and whatever people leave me reviews when they hear me speak is like, you're just so relatable. And I'm like, well, I just don't know how else to be other than completely honest with the mess that is life sometimes. So yeah. Anyways, well,
you know,
I
I
hope you
was,
liked her. Yeah.
I was once given the analogy of owning a business and I've only ever owned a real estate business, so I don't
Right.
know, but I would assume, if I owned a plumbing business, it'd be the same thing as owning a business, and really just about anything. Probably raising kids is the same.
Sure.
It's very similar to farming. You have
Yeah.
to stay consistent. You've got to water you got to
Yeah.
plant the seed. You've got to
Mhm.
let the ground rest. You've got to plant the seed. You've got to water. You've got to fertilize.
Mhm.
You've got There's those things in the world of business. And this is what I was taught from the very beginning,
Yeah.
was that we often try to cut corners, cut costs, cut
Sure. Or
corners,
rush the process.
rush the process. And it's not, a lot of people ask us where we get a lot of our real estate business from.
Yeah.
And my most common answer is it's a hodgepodge of a lot of different.
Mhm.
Most of our clients, we can't just put a thumb down on this one thing. You've got to be a community advocate,
Right.
in my opinion. Being a part of the community, helping people. I think a big thing is just
Yeah.
helping people.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me this morning, what would I charge them to help them with their property taxes? I said, I don't charge.
Yeah.
It's just,
Right.
hopefully one day I help you with your property taxes 2 or 3 years, 4 years, and then one day when
Right.
you decide to sell the house, you interview me. I don't expect you
Yeah.
to interview me for the job.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so I really think so. Farming, I've learned life can be related to a lot of things
Yeah.
to do with farming.
Well, for sure, because, and that's, I mean, JP honestly helped me reimagine finally the what ended up being the outline and the structure for the book, because I had all this content and I was just like, oh, it's just not fitting right. And I went and I was like, why am I not just asking a real farmer? Like, let's go. So I went to talk to JP and I was like, just talk me through just a standard crop cycle. Just talk me through. And he said two things. He said, well, from whose perspective? And I was like, well, what do you, well, that's a weird question. He was like, from the plant or from the farmer's perspective. And that in and of itself blew my mind. I was like, I'm literally married to like a guru. Like I was, because it was so, perspective is such a massive part of growth. It's a massive part of being a human, and being able to step back and see things from different perspectives. It's key. And what I heard him say was the seed has his approach was that the seed has a pretty easy job because it gets stuck in the ground and it's got to grow. But the farmer has a lot of work to do to prepare the land, then help it through growth and then harvest it. But I was like, but for me, this book is about personal growth. And I was like, but the truth is, Brad, you have a soul. I have a soul. I didn't have much to do with it getting in there, but here it is. And I have a soul and you have a soul that I truly believe this essence that like longs to grow. We all long to grow towards something. I want to grow this way. You want to grow that way. So being able to go, okay, I have this essence, this spirit, this thing that wants to grow towards something. Well, then I need to figure out how to help it get there. And that's my mind, and that's my actions, and that's my, it's taking that, and that's where Soul Farmer that obviously came from. And the other thing he said though was that, look, really, you can narrow it down to farming as you plant, you grow, and you harvest. It's pretty much it. So the book is broken into 3 sections. And if you think about it, it just reminds
three parts. You don't go to 4.
You love the 3. You were right. Yeah. And it is, though, just a beautiful reminder that everything is just this never ending cycle. And we get so worried in business. We get very focused on beginnings and endings. Here's the goal. Did we meet it? It's very linear, right? So we feel like you have this much time and it can get very overwhelming. But if you can step back and go, wait a second, just this is just another run through the cycle, right? I've got something new I need to plant. I need to nurture it through some growth, and then I need to harvest over and over and over. It takes some of that angst away, at least for me. So
that reminds. I was listening to a podcast yesterday, day before yesterday, and the guy said, "I said it was simple. I never said it was easy."
Oh, for sure.
Farming, writing. I mean, doing life, when you break it down to its fundamental root, doing life is simple.
Sure.
Doing life is not easy. Raising kids is not easy. Speaking of raising kids, let me ask you my second question. So this live cast, podcast, whatever you want to call it, is the Dad Pod.
Sure.
So you are a mom of competitive kids. I know one, and guys, just so y'all know, Dena, me, and her husband JP went to high school together. And then
I do think you're older than us.
I am older.
I'm just kidding. There's that funny meme going around lately, right, about being like a little bit older.
And so I left town for 18 years and came back, and our kids started showing pigs.
Yes.
And the Jansens were already showing pigs. Well, they pretty much, JP's had a pig farm, has been a pig breeder. He's not anymore.
Right.
And so he never left that world. I left it for 20, 25 years and came back to it. And so, matter of fact, my kids say that her husband JP is my BFF during show season. We often talk on the phone. During pig season. And then when it's not season, call them up and say, hey, what's the farmer doing today?
Sure.
So being a competitive mom, so there is no book out there. There is no Soul Farmer book out there, which I tell everybody about parenting.
Yeah.
In the world of parenting, from whenever our parents raised us, I tell people has completely, the world of competitiveness has completely changed. Your son, I remember your son leaving a pig show to go to a baseball practice and then
for
fishing tournament to go to, I mean, traveling across the state.
He got back for prom.
Getting back from, I mean, wasn't there one weekend there was a fishing tournament, prom, a pig show. The fishing tournament was Saturday and Sunday.
Yes.
And we snuck in a prom during one of the nights. And I mean, it's just so, people think me and Stephanie have a crazy, I mean, the Jansens have been. So talk to me what you've learned, because I've asked this question to Stephanie. I've asked this question to Charles Burton, who was the head coach that took over. He's the head coach now at Pflugerville Conley. His son signed with Ohio State and then went to Auburn, is now transfer portal to UConn. So I like asking parents of highly competitive kids, and I would say your kids are highly competitive kids. What have you learned over the years, good and bad, of raising competitive kids?
Great question. I would say let's see, I'm trying to think if I can come up with three quick little quips here for you. One, we realized probably later than we could have, but it was definitely, I think, way before middle school, because Trace did, select baseball and all that jazz for so many years, where we decided to change our post-game rituals, right? The ritual wasn't working, and the rituals were he would play, we'd get in the car, and we'd dissect. We would instantly go into dissecting what had happened, what we needed to improve, and we quickly learned, and I after listening to a few others, like, there's a time for that, but it became, this just needs to be about him as a kid, and just let him settle into it, and we can dissect it if he wants to, but so what I'm getting to is letting them lead the ask for development, right? Now, JP was his coach when he was a little bitty, but he had other coaches, right? That is the coach's job to do that. But if my kid comes to me, we tried to push back from us pushing what we saw as development opportunities to them wanting to ask for it, right? That can look different for every family, but I think for us, at least having a buffer of that time, it allows us to just be in the moment rather than always looking for opportunities to improve, which in the moment probably just feel like this is everything I've done wrong, rather than, hey, we think we see potential. So we did that. I think the other thing too is we did get to the place where JP and I, we operate slightly different. And I would say I support with the pigs. I've done more this year, but I post shows, whether we're county majors, wherever, I have a harder time sitting in disappointment if things don't go our way. And it can feel like my family is basically just saying, well, none of it was worth it because we didn't win. And I have a very hard time with that, specifically in competitive with pigs, because it is up to traditionally a man, we haven't had a female judge yet, 1 or 2 judges on that day, in that moment, what they're seeing, and you just have so little control over that. So I just want us to celebrate the process, celebrate what we've done, and just let things settle. But that's for me to also let them be upset longer. I kind of want to rush to the celebrating how much like family time we had and all the things we've learned, rather than being frustrated by the results. And then I think the third thing, what keeps coming up and is just saying, just shut up and say this, is like, really just let your kid lead you, what they want to compete in and where they want to fall. I will say, Brad, I love when you get to hear stories about kids committing, but these kids are just chasing this they want to have a commitment post on their Instagram feed, and it's just the percentage of kids who go on to collegiate and is just so small that you lose sight of a lot of really fun things if we're only chasing that. So for us, Trace excelled in baseball. He was fantastic. And after his sophomore year, he came and he said he wanted to quit. And he still had plenty on his plate, but that was really hard for us because parents, we had to admit how much of our identity was wrapped up in what he was doing. How much of it was us enjoying the experience rather than him truly loving what he was doing if he's going to give it that much time. And we survived. We cried and we were sad because it was such a big part of our life. But you let them find their thing, you know. And Elizabeth has Trace, my kids compete differently, right? So just and you learn that, and you kind of have to give yourself some space to watch your kids. What works well with them? Do they need words? Do they not need words? Do they need space? Do they not need space? But let your kids lead you, and they'll let you know pretty quickly what doesn't work, right?
Oh yeah.
So I think that's it, is hold back the desire to look for improvement, because I think that truly what that is us not wanting to see our kids fail in any way. It's uncomfortable for us. We want them to excel at all times. Well, that's not life. And two, really let your kids find their thing. Trey started a competitive bass fishing group in high school. Well, that meant something to him, and we helped him do that. And now in college, that's looking a little different, and that's okay, right? And Elizabeth has found her way, into very creative ventures and also showing pigs. To us, it's giving them as many experiences as they can, stepping back as much as we can, and helping them see the forest for the trees as far as how can all of this apply to real life, right? That is my thing. What's out of your control? What's in your control? But I will still say to this day, I don't know what's going to prepare kids better than showing animals, because, man, we could write a whole book about that. Like, if you want to give your kids some opportunity to navigate the unknown, right? Even with all this work, and to have so little control about what happens in the end, there you go.
I once was sitting in the CTE, Career and Technology and Education office of the Hayes CISD, the director of the CTE, and her argument to me on why they didn't push more in the agricultural world was there wasn't any certifications.
Oh.
And I said, my kid's not going to get, and by the way, Brooklyn can do some fake eyelashes like you wouldn't believe, right?
Yeah.
And so my daughter's not going to end up with a certification in this or that. Right. But what my daughter is, if you've ever shoveled pig shit, and there is no worse smelling feces out there. I mean, lambs there's no.
I'm trying to think.
There's nothing. Maybe dogs.
There's nothing worse than pigs screaming. Like, if there is a hell, that is what it is. It's a hungry pig.
So what I tried to tell the school official on trying to support these kids more was, my daughter's not getting certified in X, Y, or Z.
Right.
But my daughter is getting certified in hard work, dependability. And my favorite livestock quote was in San Antonio, probably 6 years ago. And the quote was, "We don't leave the barn until the job is done, and the job's not done till it's done right."
Yeah.
And if you can just live your life through that principle, I mean, it doesn't have to be animal related. It can be work. It can be book related. It can be in real estate related, as long as you just live by that. And then when you were talking about, trying to get, seeing the trees through the forest, my thing, and I've gotten an opportunity to speak to some coaching staffs and all of that. And the term I have given is success versus fulfillment.
Sure.
To me, success is a scoreboard. It's a ribbon. It's a belt buckle.
Right.
It's a trophy. It's something, there's always going to be another. And what I tell people is, if you're going to base your happiness upon success, well, there's always going to be another scoreboard. There's always going to be another pig show. There's always going to be another thing. But if you base your happiness or your your quality of life on fulfillment, well,
Right.
yeah, it. I will tell you, and I've told Stephanie because our lives have gotten really, really busy.
Yeah.
We probably should not raise pigs. This year it was in doubt. We decided to go ahead and do it, and then we ended up the year. We went to the Gilt Show, the big San Antonio Gilt Show. We took 4 pigs, and all 4 hit the top 10. So
Yeah.
that was it. It really, but what I tell people, my favorite thing about the pig showing is the daddy daughter, the truck rides.
Yeah. The
The
time.
my girls have really learned what their expectation is in the barn.
Right. Sure.
So now we're at a point where we just get to the yelling and screaming days have long passed us. Now,
Sure.
every now and then I do lose it,
Oh,
but
don't we all?
but the yelling, screaming days have somewhat long passed.
Yeah.
Now it's we just get to crack jokes on one another, laugh at one another, and and enjoy the moment because
Yeah.
Elizabeth and Brooklyn are going to be seniors next year.
It's crazy. Well, and I think the last thing I would think about raising competitive kids is I hope that our kids, and I've said this and I think I text y'all individual several groups, is I hope that our kids have seen too that we believe in competing, but also showing up and being supportive to the community that you very well and are competing against, right? This is we would hope I would hope that they have seen that we have been helpful to other families who need help or need ideas or want to do this or that. So that has been that you're not doing it alone, right? That you because it's not this is still kind of an individual sport, but that you can still come together and support each other along the way, knowing that hey, this is what we want for our kids. And so I hope we've instilled that too. I think that that's awesome too. Is when you see families supporting each other. I want them to see adults working together, even in the spirit of competition that we know is going to be competition.
So we've talked about the past.
Yep.
Dena Jansen growing up in the Hayes CISD Austin ISD border of Manchaca, Menchaca. Those of you who are not from here.
Yeah.
And then we've got the present. The present is the past. I guess is also the books you've written. The present is the doors are opening. You're kind of choosing which door to walk through at this point.
Yeah.
Future.
Yeah.
What if you could say, what are some goals? Where do you want Dena Jansen, the entrepreneur, because you're an entrepreneur. I mean, without doubt. The mom, who knows? Maybe one day grant me. Where does Dena Jansen want to see herself in the future?
Yeah, I feel like JP and I both we are in a place of rearing our kids where we had one leave the nest and we survived it. It's been a great fit. Trace had a great first year at Tech. That was different for us. I'm glad we've navigated it. Having Elizabeth right on the tail of that and really looking at being just us again is exciting. I think we're both excited about what that will be like. One, to usher another kid through her college application and finding her a good fit, but also then, we have to be, we're on our own again, which means we, don't know what that will look like. We will always keep our home base here because all of our parents are here. But, I'll be spending more time at Mart and, building out what that looks like for us. So yeah, I feel like that for us as parents, that's where we are. As far as my work, I'm definitely, like I said, just keeping like the foot, like a light pedal on the gas of really bringing Soul Farmer to life for people. So if there's ever an opportunity that somebody wants to talk about growth, personal growth or professional growth, I've seen both. I mean, I've been in corporate America. I know I've created events on my own. I've walked people through these things. Helping people see how they can grow through and really by embracing change and what that means and bringing the book to life. I think will mean that I'll, speak more and bring a few more programs to the table, but all based on this book and the heart of that message. And then I always leave a little space for like, who knows? Like, who knows that? And I'm kind of in a place where that's exciting to me. Seeing what opportunities arise and what we want to do with it. But I don't know, maybe there's another book down the road, but not yet. Thank goodness. We're going to let that project sit because it's a beast.
That's what I was going to ask. Is there, book number 3? Is it?
Yeah, I think there'll be another. I've toyed with writing a children's book. I've had a crazy little adventure with a hand, which is really funny. With my this is a little toy. This is not real. That I think would be really fun. I've never done that. It would be a completely different experience. But I think there would be another book. But I always say that I'm either like right now I'll do something and I'll be like, oh my gosh, that's chapter 12. Like I just said earlier, like that's faith, that's having faith in the fallow. Like I am living and proving that what I wrote lands for me and hopefully with others. And then I always say that I'm just living my next book, right? And I'll know when the time is right to share all sorts of words with people that hopefully have an impact. But that's where I'm at.
Yeah, with me, I've talked about, politics. It might be in my future.
Nope.
Not
for me. I'm not answering you. I'll help you get a book written. It's really, again, it's here's the funny story about a book. I had a guy, it was a traveling notary. Don't even know why we had to do this. But there was something we were doing years ago where we had to have it notarized, but they actually sent the notary with the paperwork and I had to sign it. He comes here to the house, I sign it. I don't know. At some point, either in the house or outside, he goes, you have kids? And I'm like, yeah, I have kids. And he goes, just one second. He goes out. I see him walk to his car, get into his trunk. So this is getting a little weird. And then he pulls this book out and he brings it back to me. And he's like, well, I'm a kid's book author. And I met this woman who did the illustrations. And I think it's called Something and the Stinky Dog. I have it. But my whole thing is if you want to write a book, write the book, right? He wanted to write the book. He created it. It is a creative expression. It's a creative process. You're going to love it. In the end, it is. And the goal is, it might be to sell books, but if the goal is just to give something to somebody that you this is a piece of my heart that I think is going to speak to yours, that's the exciting part. So yeah, I think that's where I'm headed. I just hope I keep doing cool things and having a family that's super tight and a farmer that, is happy as a clam. And I'd like corn to go up. That'd be great. But we're just here to ride the ride and hopefully
diesel prices go down, corn to go up. Yeah.
It's a little bit crazy right now, but yeah, well, I'm excited for the things you have going, coming ahead in your future. And I'm excited for the community. I think the community looks different than it did when we were kids. And but still excited for what's being built and
can you believe the traffic? I mean, your house.
Well,
outside.
I can, and I can also tell you that I hear it from a husband who that it does not sit well with him. He also does. We have decided that the county somehow, or this TxDOT has a tracker on his truck, and he will get every red light. Literally, I can get all the way from Kyle home, all green lights. He will stop at every single light, and it breaks his heart. But so that's why he has his respite. He can go to Martin, see 2 cars in a day and live his dream of that. But that's just not what it is these days. And that's okay. We have to, we have to deal. But yeah, it is not the same. But that's why, again, for him, it just wasn't safe to be on the roads, because people were either honking or doing unsafe things to get around him. And if he was in a tractor, or they were videoing him and thinking it was the coolest thing they've ever seen because they've never seen one in real life. And so yeah, now he's at least safer up there, which makes me happy.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, there you go, folks. We've gone over the past, the present, and the future of Dena Jansen. I want to thank you, Dena, for coming on and spending some time with us. If you would like to support Dena, you can do that at denajansen.com. So denajansen.com. She's written 2 books. She's a public speaker, keynote speaker, probably a little bit of a life coach.
I do. Right now, I'm not doing any coaching, but if there's someone who wants me to help guide them through, I'm happy to do that. But I even saw a couple groups just in our local masterminds or local anything. I'm always happy to come and talk about any of the things as it relates to growth and how we can navigate it with, in our work or outside of work as well. So.
And I'm Brad Alexander. You can find me at the alexanderhometeam.com. Since this is on YouTube as well, so the whole world might get to learn a little bit about Brad and Dena. So if you have any real estate questions, property tax questions, anything real estate related, call Brad. So with that being said, Dena, thank you so much for joining us today, and we will see y'all next time.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Bye.